Over the years, our family's had a share of health problems.
So prescriptions are a part of our life.
Before we went to the big box store.
We both thought it would help us save. But with the long lines and impersonal service, filling prescriptions became a chore. That's when a friend recommended D&H.
Now Tristan knows our prescriptions. Brenda always helps us find the right vitamins. And after Dad's fall, Monica's been a real expert with all our home medical needs. All without the lines.
Trust and service.
That's our D&H.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends. This is Wednesday. It's February 29th. Oh, today is the last day of February and it's leap year.
It is leap year.
Leap day. So Mel Zelenak is with us, our consumer and travel expert. Good to have you here, Mel.
Good seeing you.
We're going to talk about two things today. We're going to talk about prescription drugs and also flying out of the airport.
We're going to pick up what we talked about 4 or 5 segments back, flying out of Colombia, but not only flying out of Colombia, just some other tips that travelers can save some money on this.
Now, when you talk about Colombia, I've been reading in the papers now they're trying to get another airline into Colombia Regional Airport, and that would be really nice. If that happened, we have a choice of 2 different airlines to choose from and a different city to go to.
Well, and we've talked about this before. I've not been an advocate of Colombia until Delta came in. Ozark was fairly good, fairly competitive. But prior to that, I mean, we couldn't compete with St. Louis or Kansas City. Now, in many of the flights that we take, we can certainly compete, and usually the price is either the same or slightly more. And when you factor in all the cost of driving or getting a shuttle over even, or and the extra time that you have to prepare to get to the airport early so you can go through those security issues. Sometimes you have to stay overnight and so forth. You certainly pay for parking. It's certainly well worth considering. I'm not suggesting everyone would enjoy the experience out of Colombia, but I certainly do.
Okay, so and the thing is, just check it out. Weigh all the differences between flying from St. Louis, Kansas City, or Colombia, and whichever one comes out the best for you, that's what you do.
And once in a while, even Springfield, if somebody.
Springfield,
Missouri, yeah.
That's a pretty long drive down to Springfield.
I agree with you, but apparently, and I've never done it, but apparently some people really.
All right. So you wanted to talk about prescription drugs today.
Well, I want to talk about an experience I had last week, and I want to ask you a true-false question. Pharmacists can be substantial resources to save money on prescription drugs. Is that true or false, or are they all the same?
I think that's true. I think if you talk to your pharmacist, they can advise you of what. Of course, you got to get the doctor's approval when you do this. If you can go with a generic brand or a national brand, but I think the pharmacists are invaluable.
I agree, and
they can save you a lot of money too.
And it depends on the pharmacist, depends on the pharmacy, frankly, and. Let me just give you my experience. I had some minor eye surgery last week, and the prescription for my antibiotic ointment, I checked locally, and the first price I was given was $107, and this is for a very, very small container. And they said that if they can get the generic approved, it'll be somewhere around $78. Well, I shop around, as I think you should do with pharmacists or pharmacies, because I thought it was too much for me to pay at the time. And pharmacy number 2 said their price was $130 for the brand name. But the pharmacist there, we have a relationship with them, and he said, if we could get the ophthalmologist to approve this eye drop, not an ointment, but an eye drop. He said he thinks it'll be between $30 and $40, probably about $38. And I said that would be certainly acceptable to me. So he said, I'll fax it over. It was a St. Louis ophthalmologist. And he said, within a few hours, we should know. I came back, and the pharmacy actually gave me the ointment because it was approved by the ophthalmologist for $4.
Wow. So that was a big change.
All of that was a dramatic change. And if you're talking about a lot of medication, as some viewers have to take, I mean, you might be able to save quite a bit of money just by establishing a quality relationship with a pharmacy. And also, of course, when you're talking with your medical doctor, try and make sure that they'll allow a generic substitute.
Right? Because many times you can save a lot of money with a generic drug.
Yes. And then the second point we're going to cover today has to do with a topic that we covered 4 or 5 segments ago, and actually it was probably the most popular one that I've had on here, and it was this issue of flying out of Columbia.
Oh, we had emails. We had emails about flying out of Columbia Regional Airport.
Yeah.
And some people thought it was great, and some people said, every time I try to fly from there, my flight is canceled. You get two different stories. But I think as a whole, Columbia Regional Airport is getting good marks.
Yeah, and if you check the track record, and they do have the track records published, Columbia does very, very well with on-time flights and so forth. But that said, it does depend on the individual and what their needs are and what they think is of value to them. For us, we've been very successful going out of Columbia, and we go out probably anywhere from 5 to 10 times a year. And when we consider the total time, the total cost, the number of us traveling, which is very often 4 or 6, and the convenience of flying out of Columbia, the free parking and so forth.
Oh, they don't charge for parking?
No, they still don't charge for parking out there. And when you factor in the cost of going to St. Louis or shuttling over to St. Louis with the gas and the lead time you have to allow, you very often have to stay overnight if you go to St. Louis or Kansas City, and perhaps extra meals and so forth. It's well worth at least considering Columbia. So that's the point we're talking about.
It's almost like you're working for the Columbia Chamber of Commerce here.
And as you know, this is the first time I've really endorsed Columbia.
Yeah.
One criticism people very often have is the Delta charges baggage fees, and Southwest doesn't.
Oh, that's right. Southwest is one that does not charge baggage fees.
And they allow you to have two pieces of luggage. However, some people may want to consider the Delta American Express travel card. Mm-hmm. And if you get that, there is a cost per year. But if you get that, your baggage fees for one piece of luggage are free.
Yeah.
For everyone who flies with you.
These are all things that need to be considered when you're making plans. Mm-hmm. Columbia, St. Louis, Kansas City, or now he says Springfield is in the mix there too.
Yeah,
but Mel, we're out of time for today. You've given people something to think about. If they want more information, where do they go?
Cruise at centurytel.net.
Okay.
That's CRUISE at centurytel.net.
And they can check out the statistics of Columbia Regional Airport online too.
They can. It's
would it be
DOT.
Go Columbia?
No. Well, they may have it on that website.
GoColumbiaMall.com. Check that out. Mel, thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks, Paul.
Always pleasure chatting with you. Tomorrow, Dave Mars will be on. We'll talk about how we can save money as we're going into springtime. Our show directed by Travis McMillen of the Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers, KBIA. Our floor director, Danny Madison, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser. And to listen to this again or watch it, go to kbia.org, sign up for a free podcast or a vodcast. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.